Learning Zili Nishmas Etta Ahuva Basyakim Masechas Zevachim Perek Vav Mishna Hey. So Mishna Dalet spoke about Chatas Ha'if. Mishna Hey talks about Oilas Ha'if. Oilas Ha'if Ketzad. How is the Oilas Ha'if brought? And this is discussed in Vayikra Perek Aleph Pasuk Tes Vav. The pasuk says V'hikrivo HaKoyin El HaMizbeach. The Koyin brings it to the Mizbeach. U'molak His Reisha, and does Malika on its head. V'hikter HaMizbecha, and does Haktara on the Mizbeach. And it presses the blood, spits out that blood against the wall of the Mizbeach. So Zok the Mishnah, Ola Bekevesh, he goes up on the ramp, and the Gemara learns this out of the pasuk that the Malika was on top of the Mizbeach, since the pasuk sort of reverses the order and says V'hikter HaMizbecha, the Haktara, before the Mitzvah Hadam. In actuality, first they got out the Dam, and then they did a Haktara. So why does it say V'hikter first? To be makish it to the Malika. So Malak is Roisha, V'hikter HaMizbecha is just like the Haktara was Beroish HaMizbeach, so too the Malika was done Beroish HaMizbeach. So the Oilas Ha'if was done Lamaila. Oilas Ha'if is Al, is the Siman, and Chatas Ha'if was the opposite. And by Behema, it's the opposite. The Oilas Behema is Lamata, and the Chatas Behema is Lamaila. It's just a Siman. Olo Bekevesh, and he went up on the ramp, Upana L'Seiviv, and the Kohen turned to the ledge to the right. This is called the Seiviv. Uboloi L'Keren Droimis Mizrachas, and the Kohen went to the southeastern corner, which is closest to the Beis Hadeshan, like we spoke out earlier. This way it will be easier to throw the Meirah and the Naitza, which we'll get to soon, onto the Beis Hadeshan, which was on the right side of the ramp. We did mention that when the Koyanim were a lot of Koyanim, then it was done on the other side, but in a normal case it was done over here on the Droimis Mizrachis. Hayamoilik es Roisha Mimul Arpa, he would do Malika Mimul Ha'arif. Now over here this pasuk didn't say that it was Mimul Ha'arif. The pasuk by Oilas Ha'if just says Umalak es Roisha, but the Gemara learns it out from Chatas Ha'if that just like over there it was Meimul Oirif, which over here Rashi explains that the Oirif is the top back part of the head, and Mul Oirif is below that, which is also on the back part of the head, but it's opposite the part which was above it. So it's called Meimul Oirif. Umavdil, and over here he did cut both simanim when he did the Malika with his thumb, he cut both the kana and the veshet, as opposed to the Chatas Ha'if. We said the pasuk says lo yavdil. Over here the pasuk doesn't say lo yavdil, and also the Gemara learns it out from a drasha. Umalak v'hikter, also malak v'hikter. Just like by the haktara was done separately, the roish and the guf, which we'll explain in a second. So too the malika totally separated the roish from the guf with both simanim. How do you know the haktara was done separately, the roish and the guf? So the Mishnah continues now, and the Mishnah says not alas haroish. He took the roish separate. The hikif's base milikasel mizbeach, and pressed it against the mizbeach. The sofkoi b'melech, and he put salt on it. There was salt, Rashi explains, on the top of the mizbeach, was one of the three places where salt was kept. The pasuk says l'chol karba minchasecha b'melech timlach. Rashi brings down the zarka al gabe isha, and then it was put on the fire. How does the Gemara know that the roish was done separately? So the Gemara learns that also all in the same brisa. It's all in Samachayim and Aleph, that since the pasuk says in the pasuk we just said v'hikter hamizbecha, and then at the end of the next pasuk, which we're going to read soon, it says afterwards v'hikter oisei, two psukim later. So must be the one later is talking about the guf, and right now we're talking about being makter the head. So the head was done separately. So now before the next part of the Mishnah, the pasuk Tezayin says v'heser es mara'asa b'noitza, you remove the Meirah, which was also called the Zefek, which is the place where when the animal digests its food goes. So you remove that Zefek together with the feathers around it. And you throw it to the Mokum Hadeshen, like we said, on the eastern part of the ramp. And you separate it by its wings. But lo yavdil, you don't totally separate the guf of the oif. You don't totally make it into two, but you just pull it open. Again, you remove the zefek and with its feathers, and you throw that on the Beis Hadeshen. And the rest of the guf of the animal, Like the pasuk, yeah, you do the haktara on that. So now the Mishnah basically just speaks this all out. You came to the guf of the bird. The heser hamirov es hanoitzeves b'nei ma'im hayotzim ima v'shlichan lebeis hadeshen. Shisa v'loy hevdel, you split it open, but you don't totally separate it. Im hivdel, if it separates, it's kosher. V'safkei b'melech, you put melech on the guf of the oif also. V'zarka l'gabei ishim, and that went onto the fire. So basically, the head went on the fire. Then you took the meirah and the nitz and you put it on the beis hadeshen, not on the fire, on the floor on the right side of the ramp. And then the rest of the guf went back on the fire on the mizbeach. Mishnah vav lo yeser lo yeser meirah lo yeser nitz lo yeser neim hayotzim lo yisafkei b'melech. Kol sheshina ba me'achar shemitzas adam ksheira. Any shina that happened after the mitzvah adam, if it's not ma'akiv, if you didn't do it, it's still kosher. However, mitzvah dam haroish v'loy mitzvah dam haguf. If you don't do the mitzvah on the dam haguf, then it's puzzle. The Mishnah ends off mitzvah dam haguf v'loy mitzvah dam haroish. If you didn't do the mitzvah on the dam haroish, that's kosher. But the mitzvah on the dam haguf, pushing all that blood against the mizbeach, that is ma'akiv, and if you don't do it, it's puzzle. The Gemara ends off the end of the 6th perek. My Talmud mistaver the roiv damim beguf shchichi. Because roiv damim is in the guf of the animal. The Rambam in the Pirush Mishnah it says ikar adam is hakaved v'lei v'giden, and therefore the mitzvah on the guf is ma'akiv.